We are in the magical studio of Madeline Durham, and I have never been here before, and wow, what a wonderful place. And this is the place where she creates Madeline's paste papers. And she just gave us a short demo, which if you're lucky, you might get to see at the end of this film, on how to make paste paper. And it's just an amazing process. And Madeline was a piano player, and I was just telling her, she made it look so easy, but that's like people that can sit down and play the piano. They make it look easy, but that's after they've spent hours and hours and hours of practice. And how many paste papers have you made?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what started you with paste paper? What was the...
Well, I was out at the community college taking some art classes, and very involved in the book arts and printmaking. And one day our teacher demonstrated paste papers. Paste papers were invented by fine bookbinders in Northern Europe a couple of hundred years ago.
Okay.
And so when you open a book, an old book, on the inside of the covers, you'll see decorative paper. It's more often marbled, but sometimes it's a paste paper. It means they mix a pigment with paste. And
pigment being paint or pigment being raw pigment?
Well, a couple hundred years ago it would have been raw pigment.
Okay.
And
now
it's acrylic paint, specifically golden acrylics.
Golden acrylics.
So golden acrylics, and I use a wheat paste, a really fine wheat paste that I get from the fine bookbinder's supply.
And many people don't know, but Sam Golden actually was one of the people that invented acrylic paints back in the late 40s with Lenny Beaucourt. So, and Golden is probably one of the best paint companies that we stock, and probably the best one in the world, actually. So this is board, paper, mounted to board.
Right, a collage technique.
Okay.
So they're one-foot squares.
And the technique that you just showed us was kind of a Zen line thing going on. Obviously, you create actual shapes of like flowers and landscapes and stuff. So you have, that's your painting background coming through the paste paper?
Right, well, traditional paste papers, you put the paste down and then drag a comb through it like a notched instrument. So I was doing things like cutting up squeegees, making hundreds of notches and big squeegees. You don't want me to do your windows. And one day when I was
She doesn't do windows.
No, I would, but they would. They would look very decorative, like paste paper patterns. One day I was applying the paste to my paper with a new brush, with a large filbert brush, and I saw a line that I'd never seen before, and it grabbed me by the tail and never let me go.
These are giclée prints of the paste paper.
Of the paste paper. The originals were large, like these that are hanging on the wall over here. Or also, I should open this up. These two are my paste papers where I use a much more painterly approach.
Yeah.
What you just saw me do was just decorative.
Right.
Like a book artist might use that on the inside of a book cover or on a book cover. But this is a more painterly approach, and I just had these temporarily hung for a show down at the State Capitol building last fall for a Santa Fe Book Arts group. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this and mount it on a panel board like the ones that are on the wall over here.
Okay. So these are all on panel board.
Those are all on panel board. And so, yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And obviously you're varnishing them.
I put a protective coating on them.
Protective coating,
yes.
Okay.
It's actually GAC 500 because paper is so soft. I put a coating on that's a hardener. It's going to really protect it.
Okay. So once it's down forever. That's you got it. Okay.
So those giclées that you were looking at before is just a reduced size of an image that was that size as an original.
And we were talking earlier. You had a great year last year, right?
Oh, I had an amazing year.
Okay.
Off to a great start this year.
Nice.
I've lost track of how many workshops I taught.
Taught here or taught
all over the country?
All over the country.
I taught in Boston, the University of Alabama, California. I think I taught 7 or 8 workshops altogether. a lot of traveling and a lot of meeting up with really wonderful groups of people. And I can't even begin to tell you how fortunate I feel that I discovered this process, because it's just put me in the company of some really wonderful groups of people. Mainly, I do a lot of workshops with the book arts groups, fine bookbinders, and calligraphers.
Okay, calligraphers.
Calligraphers love my work because they can, here's a copy of a piece. They can do their calligraphy on the lines.
Wow.
They just love how they have these lines they can follow.
For poetry or
for poetry,
yeah.
And all those
how beautiful
little,
is that?
Sayings that people like to hear.
So what are the uses, some of the uses? I mean, some of the uses obviously are fine art applications, book applications, calligraphy applications. Is there anything that has surprised you that people use your advertisements?
Advertisements, yes, I wanted to show you this.
Okay.
This is an ad that was in Town and Country magazine.
Wow.
By Tiffany's ad.
How
where
beautiful.
They were inspired by the color blue.
Yeah.
And used the paper to wrap a box for Tiffany's ad.
Wrapping paper. This is kind of expensive wrapping paper, isn't it?
Well, if you're buying something at Tiffany's,
okay, all right. Everything's relative.
You could wrap it now. Nice. And then I also do additions. I do additions for people. This is a rather simple pattern. It was a large square that I did 120 of these.
Wow.
Specifically for a special envelope that was folded and used by Instagram for their annual Christmas New Year's gala ball in San Francisco. So they needed 120 envelopes for all their official officers.
So some of your work is strictly artistic and some of your work, oh my gosh, we have a friend here, look at this.
That's
your studio assistant?
My studio assistant.
Do you use them as a blotter sometimes, to blot like water out or something?
Oh, I have a really funny story. When I was first doing this, I didn't have the drying racks. And one day I had the papers all drying on the floor, and he ran across the papers and left these footprints
on the paper?
On the paper, and this woman bought my papers with the cat prints, and she, for a long time, kept contacting me and saying, "Do you have any more of those?"
The cat prints?
But once he ran across those paper once, he'll never run across them again. So that was that.
Yeah. What is an average is there an average Madeline day? Do you come into your studio? Do you play music? Do you get in the zone? What gets you?
I play music. I get in the zone. Sometimes I actually spend a couple of days internally preparing myself for a serious work session.
Okay.
I'm always trying to get ahead so I don't have to work so hard during the time right before, say, a show. I sell at the Guild of Bookworkers every year when they have their conference. But it never fails. I seem to work much better under a deadline.
Okay.
I just get the energy for it, and I can spend many more hours in the studio really getting ready for something. When I'm doing the landscapes, they're a lot more focused attention, and but I can't just produce them without warming up, so I'll use my time making decorative papers as a warm-up for my more painterly work.
What do you see this year happening? Same successes? Are you traveling and teaching and doing more of that?
I'm traveling and teaching this year, not quite as much.
Okay.
I'm doing some workshops here in Santa Fe. I'm in the Santa Fe Society of Artists, which is in the downtown.
The outdoor shows.
Outdoor show. I'm looking forward to participating in a number of those shows.
Okay, well, thank you, Madeline, for opening up your studio. If you want to get in touch with Madeline, it's madelinedurham.com, and that she teaches right out of this studio here. And if you watch the demo, she makes it look awful easy. So if she can make it look that easy to me, maybe she could teach you how to paint it like a paste paper too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
Thank you very much.